Hello, did you know there are some things that a debt collector cannot touch? And so in this video, I kind of want to go over what I think are those top things. My name is Jeff Kelly. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I serve all of North Georgia. If you have any questions or want to schedule an appointment with us, go to kellycanhelp.com. All right, let's dive in here. So, the number one asset that some people have that debt collectors cannot touch at all, and that is your Social Security benefits. We get a lot of calls from people who are on fixed income. They've gotten in trouble with payday loans, they've gotten in trouble with the finance companies, whatever it is, that Social Security stream of income is protected. Now, what's really important, if you're on Social Security, make sure you're putting that money into a bank account that is only for your Social Security. Don't go mixing it with other streams of income that belong to other people, or that could kind of mess things up, possibly mess up your protection. But your Social Security income is protected. So if somebody on that has nothing but Social Security and no assets, if they tell their debt collectors that they are judgment proof, go fly a kite, there's really nothing a debt collector can do. You can get judgments all day long. You can sue and sue and sue, and there's nothing for it to attach to. And we see that situation a lot. Now, if you're on Social Security and you have a part-time job, well, we might need to look. Depends on the specific case. All right, let's talk about the next asset, the 401k, the IRA, the retirement plan. In the state of Georgia, when you file bankruptcy, or even if you don't, that asset is 100% protected by statute, period, end of story. If there's a distribution made to you, then now that distribution might become subject to a debt collector coming after you. But if you leave it sitting in the 401k where it belongs, or the IRA, and let it grow, let it grow, let it grow, there's nothing a debt collector can do. If you go to borrow the money and you turn some of it into cash, oh, I hate that. One of the things that makes me cringe more than anything is when somebody comes in to meet with me and they've got tons and tons of credit card debt, and they've paid a good chunk of it down by liquidating their 401k. That's probably one of the number one mistakes I see people make before filing bankruptcy. Don't do that. Leave your 401k and your retirement plans alone. Let them grow. All right, let's talk about house equity. Can a debt collector go after your equity in your house? Well, this is probably the best news of 2026 is that Georgia increased the protection amount from $50,000 to $50,000 for an individual and $100,000 of equity for a married couple. So that means you could file for bankruptcy and protect up to those amounts in the house. Now, let's change up the facts a little bit. Let's say you don't file bankruptcy and you're being sued by a debt collector. Are they going to take your house away? Probably not. That they're probably going to do is get a judgment and then record something called a FIFE. And then that thing is going to sit on your house and grow with judgment rate interest every single year until either the house is sold or it's paid. So they can eat away at your equity, but they can't throw you out on the street. Most debt collectors can't, because if they were going to try to foreclose on you, they would have to pay off your mortgage. They would have to pay off any debt that came before theirs before they could get to you. And that almost never, ever, ever happens. All right, let's go to one of the category number 4, veterans benefits, 100% protected. If all you have is veterans benefits and you have no assets, you can do just like the Social Security people can. You could potentially tell your creditors to go fly a kite, and there is nothing they can do about it except file lawsuits and get judgments and wait like a spider and hope and pray that someday you own some real estate or something that they could go after. Now I want to talk about your paycheck. Can they take all of your paycheck? No, Georgia law limits it to 25%. That's a pretty big chunk. Most people can't survive if some creditor is garnishing them or taking away 25% of your paycheck. They can do that if you're not in a bankruptcy case, but once you file and get a case number, we can put the kibosh on that and protect your paycheck. Unemployment payments and workers' comp payments, your debt collectors are not going to be able to garnish those. They're not going to be able to go to the state and say, hand the money over to me instead. That can't happen. That is a protected stream of income. If it sits in your bank account, that might be a different story for those categories. But once we file, we're not going to have a problem if you choose to go the route of Chapter 13 or Chapter 7. Now let's talk about your everyday belongings, your furniture, your TV. Are they going to be able to come to your house and just take it? Well, some finance companies will have you pledge that stuff. That's a little iffy if we're not filing a bankruptcy case. But if we are filing, in almost every case, I'm going to be able to exempt and protect all of your furniture because it's not really worth anything. Right now, Georgia has a $5,000 limit for a single person. It's $10,000 for a married couple. And then we also have a $10,000 wild card for an individual and $20,000 for a couple. So in 99.99% of cases, when we file a case, all of your furniture is protected. The only time we run into trouble is when you've got some super valuable antique that's been in your family for a long time. That's a little problematic. But if you have any questions at all, I would encourage you to go to my website, download a free copy of my book at kellycanhelp.com. I also have a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel at Kelly Can Help. And we have a podcast website as well, kellybankruptcy.com. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us, 770-881-8449. Thank you so much.